think the biggest reason is this concept called load versus capacity. That our body's ability to bear load, whatever that is, in terms of how much time, how hard I'm riding, the cumulative miles in the week. That's the load that we're putting on the system. That my capacity has to match how much load I'm putting on the system.
Lube your chain and pump up those tires. It's time for Aging on Dirt, where we defy expectations one pedal stroke at a time. We age, but we don't have to get old, and we all want to experience the joy of mountain biking as long as possible. Are you starting to ride at an unreasonable age, getting back into it after a long layoff, or just wanting to extend how long you'll be riding? Then you're in the right place. And now, your host, Joel Zeeve.
I'm so excited to have Dr. Cameron Garber on the show today, and you'll be too. He's the perfect guest to help us understand how to stay active and experience the joy on our bikes as we continue to age. He's a physical therapist, the owner of Body Smart in South Ogden, Utah, and there he helps people live longer and stronger lives. He does this by helping us improve our mindset and skills that are both needed in order to be that guy or that gal that we see riding on the trails well into our 80s, all without having the fear of injury or burnout. So welcome, Dr. Cameron Garber.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, my pleasure coming on. I have always enjoyed talking with you in the past, and so might as well put a recording to it.
There we go. So this came up, basically our main topic. As I started thinking about doing this podcast, I got a lot of suggestions from people for what they wanted to hear, and that was related to health and fitness and pain and a variety of different things that we've talked. You and I have talked about offline to start off with. The main topic today, because we had to kind of put some sort of focus on things to get started, is dealing with aches and pains and injuries. My personal goal out of today is that you give us all some tools that we can use to help identify which pains that we can ride through and which need some extra recovery time and which need the attention of a professional to help us get through it.
Yeah.
So before we dive in too quickly, since we're all mountain bike riders, I'm sure we're all going to want to know about your background as a rider. I know primarily you're a runner, but can you share us a little bit about what you do on two wheels?
Yeah. I do enjoy mountain biking. I would say I'm not the best at it. I'm really good at wrecking a mountain bike and finding myself head over handlebars. I've been semi-pro at that since I was a little kid. I always found great ways to wreck bicycles but I do enjoy
that's okay.
it.
I know a guy that can help with that. So.
Yeah. But so I will occasionally go out and do, we've got great mountains around here, and that we have a family cabin in Idaho, and that's probably where I do the majority of any mountain bike, riding is up there at the cabin. But I do enjoy getting lost in the woods on two wheels and my feet. So
okay,
yeah,
very cool. Yeah, there's something special about just being out in the middle of nowhere for sure.
Yeah, and I'm one that loves to be human powered, so I don't enjoy motorized vehicles at all. So even if I go boating, it's in a kayak or a canoe or a raft or something like that. I enjoy activities where I'm the motor, and so that's why I like cycling, is I can be the motor, and it gives me a little bit more power to cover more ground. So I like that about it.
Right. I guess my first question is, because I got this a lot as I was putting out feelers for the podcast, is why are we getting injured, and why does it seem to be easier to get injured as we get older?
Yeah. So I'll go into the second question first. Why did it get easier as we get older? A couple of reasons. One, we stopped practicing. We stopped doing the thing as much. We become more weekend warriors. So consistency is usually one of those big things that we're not doing it day in, day out. Like when we're kids, we tend to do our recreational activities all the time because we love to do it and we have time. Whereas as adults, we tend to like have more time on the weekends or things like that where we do it, but we're not as able to be as consistent throughout the week and things like that. That's one component of it. That with aging, the other is that it does take a little bit more time to recover and things like that. And to me, that's where the consistency of doing a little bit every day to maintain our fitness or the activities that we love really becomes so critical. Is it allows us to build up our capacity so that our recovery after each ride is less because our capacity to handle that is better. So that leads into kind of answering the first question of why do we get injured? I think the biggest reason is this concept called load versus capacity. That our body's ability to bear load, whatever that is, in terms of how much time, how hard I'm riding, how, the cumulative miles in the week. That's the load that we're putting on the system. That my capacity has to match how much load I'm putting on the system. Otherwise, if I'm overloading my capacity too much, then it's going to lead to injury. So I've got an analogy that I use often. Imagine if I were to drop a brick on my toe, it would injure my foot, right? It would hurt. Yeah, and it would injure my toe.
Yeah.
Whereas if I set that same brick on my toe, it wouldn't cause the injury, right? Because I applied the load slow enough. And that's the idea. As long as we apply the load slow enough that my body can adapt, I'm fine. So you can start setting that brick on your toe and letting it get used to that, and then dropping the brick from like 1 centimeter and then 2 centimeters and then, several, and then from waist height and whatever. And you see like people in martial arts can kick bricks with their shin and break the brick because they've built up their capacity to do so that their bone density can handle that. And they can beat the brick eventually, right? So that concept of building up my capacity to bear the load. So I would argue that all injuries are a load versus capacity problem. Even if I go over my handlebars and hit the ground and break my collarbone, I applied more load to that collarbone more quickly than it could handle. If I took a slower or easier tumble and landed on my shoulder, I can bear that load, but I just applied too much load too quickly and my collarbone broke. But so a lot of our injuries in our, joints or muscles where we get itises, right? Tendinitises or muscle strains, things like that, is usually because we went from, I haven't been biking as much, but I'd like to get back in it. I've got 6 hours this next Saturday, so I'm going to go for all 6 hours, even though really kind of what I've earned in terms of that load versus capacity is maybe 90 minutes I could handle without it really blowing me up. But I was finally able to get out. And so I went for a longer ride, or here in Utah, people will go down to kind of the Slick Rock country, down to Moab or down to St. George and hit some of the amazing trails down there. But they go from like, I ride occasionally, I hit it on the weekends. And then they go like 3 full days of nothing but riding. And then come back and they're like, I don't know why I'm hurting so bad. And I pull out their Strava for them. And I say, look, this is how many miles you've ridden or how many hours you've spent in the saddle over the past few months. And then here's what you did this last weekend. What do you see that's different?
And they're really tied together then, because in order to build up the capacity, you need to build up the load.
Absolutely.
You just can't do it too quickly.
Exactly. So in building up your body, there is what we call an overload principle. That if you're always training the same way every day, your fitness likely isn't going to improve. If that makes sense. So maintenance is somewhat of a lie. If we're just maintaining by doing the same ride the same way every day, we're actually going to decline over time because of aging, because of all kinds of other things, stress and sleep and all the other elements of our life that can weigh in on the load that's being placed on the system. we wind up actually declining over time. So we have to have overload as part of our training cycles to be able to build ourselves up to counteract. I call it slowing down the slowing down, if that makes sense. Right? Life is going to make us slow down anyway. And so we want to slow down how fast the aging process slows us down. And this load versus capacity equation really is part of that game. If I build myself up through my training and life is trying to level me out, then I might actually maintain my performance. Whereas if I'm not doing things to build myself up, then I will decline. Even if I'm doing the same ride the same way, I will slow down more and more over time. And so we have to find some areas of our training where we're building ourselves up and others where we're allowing our body to recover. That's one of the biggest things in that load to capacity equation is recovery has been very, very critical, because where I actually build my capacity is not during the load application process. It's in the recovery afterward that my capacity gets built up. So it's not while we're lifting weight that we get stronger. We apply that load to put stress on the muscle, and that creates the kind of chemical response in our body that tells your muscles, I need you to build back up stronger. And it's during recovery that we actually get stronger. And so how we sleep, how we eat, how we manage our stress in our life, all those types of things have a great deal of influence over how we can recover and build up that capacity.
Okay. All right. So all that makes sense. That's really good stuff.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I think most of us, as we get older, we get to know ourselves and our bodies a little bit better. At least this is kind of how it's worked for me. And we know if we're experiencing a pain that's been with us for a while, and we know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So, for example, my wife has arthritic knees. So she knows when she's going on a ride, she needs to warm up slowly, get the knees moving, and then the pain goes away, and then she's good to go. The last couple of years for me, I've developed what I'm assuming is arthritis in both thumbs. So I have consistent light pain, I would call it, shifting with the right thumb, hitting the dropper with the left thumb, and I just deal with it. But I know those are like normal things. So if we get a new pain, and we know it wasn't caused from a crash or an injury, can you give us some tools that we can use to help us decide if it's something that it's okay to try to ride through versus going to professional and getting it checked out?
Right, the little things that pop up that happen to everybody, no matter how experienced or how even if we're dialing everything in right, part of movement is that sometimes we get little aches and pains, and a lot of the time on a ride, especially a longer ride, you'll get different things that pop up. Like you'll be a few miles in, and all of a sudden you're like, my hip is kind of feeling weird, and you keep pedaling, but it's not to the level of like sharp stabbing pain. And you keep riding, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, that kind of went away, and I don't even think about it. And now it's like, oh, my left ankle feels a little stiff all of a sudden. What's going on there? And then you keep riding, and that goes away. And so that's pretty normal to have those things. But if it's niggles that like you feel after the ride or the next day when you hop back on the bike, those types of things. So we kind of rewrote the pain scale, that 0 being no pain and 10 being worst pain ever. We kind of rewrote that pain scale as a way of helping people know, like, what pain should I seek help for, and what pain really is I should just keep moving, right? So we call it keeping moving through the pain scale. So we want to keep people moving as much as possible. If you have a physician or a health practitioner that tells you to stop moving, to stop exercising, run away from them. Hop on your bike and pedal away. Because they're doing more harm in the long run. It's more about modifying what you're doing so that you're not making the problem worse, but don't stop moving. You've got to find a way to keep moving in a way that helps your body heal and get past it. And so it can build up that load versus capacity equation. So that it can maintain. If we try to rest away an injury, people tell me all the time, so I had this happen and I took 2 weeks off. Worst thing you can do is it goes away because you're not stressing it, but it actually got weaker. And so your likelihood of re-injury is actually much, much higher. So it's better to keep moving in a way. So we always say that 0 through 3 is to keep moving and kind of don't worry about it too much. So 1 being defined as, or 0 being nothing, no pain, obviously. 1 is it's there, It's not painful, but I feel it. It's kind of like I notice it. It's still kind of there, but it's not painful per se. 2,
and it's not really impacting my performance
at all, but it's there. 2 is like, okay, it's bothering me. It's still not impacting performance, but it bothers me. I notice it, or it's there, especially in the first few minutes, or I pay for it later. After I go do a ride, I feel it kind of later. And 3 is when it's like, it undeniably, or it hurts. It doesn't feel good. It hurts. But it's not restricting how I'm moving at all. 4, so in that 1 through 3, keep moving and see if you can troubleshoot what's going on. You may back down volume a little bit or intensity. So back down the pace or the amount of climbing, right? So the miles per hour you can back down, the amount of wattage or power that you're doing you can back down, or the distance you're riding. You can back those things down a little bit, but keep moving. Don't let it interrupt you, because a lot of those things will clear up on their own within a week or two, right? If it stays under that level. The 4 to 6 range is the decreased activity range. That's when we really want to start limiting activity, but keep moving. So this is where we want to find other activities that we can do to kind of cross-train and give our body a break from the thing that's causing it pain. So 4 would be that undeniably painful. Like it does hurt. And 5 is it starts altering my movement. It's really affecting how I'm riding now. 6 would be it's starting to get sharper pains. And then the 7 and 8 is where we really want to limit activity and back down to what can I do where I don't feel it at all or it's very minimal. And that's 7 would be that stabbing, deep throbbing pain. 8 would be a constant limiting, like I can't do my activity. 9 and 10 is like seek help immediately type pain. For the 4 through 8, that's where we say seek guidance. If it's getting to a 4 where it's starting to really be undeniably painful and it's bothering you and limiting your activity, seek help. So that's where you want that active rehab and seeking guidance. So go to somebody like me or whoever you trust. And I would argue going to see a rehab professional first instead of your family practice stuff is going to be the best way to go. They can get you in faster. They can help you and keep you moving instead of telling you to stop moving. If they need to order x-rays or other things like that, they can. And they're actually pretty good. And studies have shown that they're actually better at finding out what's going on and what your next step should be than a family practice doctor. And it's no knock on a family practice doctor or your primary care practitioner. It's just they have such a big filter that they have to do everything with. The orthopedic pain is a really tough one for them to become expert at. And so going to see somebody that's what they see all day, every day, like a physical therapist, is a really good idea. And the faster you get in, the faster you tend to get over it. So that's a good idea too. Get in, get that help as fast as you can. If you can get in with the first few hours, it usually is resolved in a couple of days. If it's the first few days, it's usually a couple of weeks and so on. So the faster you get in and get help, the better. So if you're on a ride,
gotcha,
and it's kind of like you knew that you kind of tweaked something the other day, you hop on, you start pedaling, and it's at that level 3. Like it hurts, but I kind of expected it because I tweaked it yesterday, so I knew it was going to hurt. Then you're fine. Keep riding. If it starts to creep up to like 4 or 5, then it's time to be done. Back off the pace and intensity, head back home. And so if it's stable pain and you know that it's going to hurt that bad, that's okay. Stable pain is okay. Growing pain, where it's changing unpredictable pain, we don't like that.
No, it was real good. And you and I remembered as you were going through this, since we set this up a couple weeks ago, that you had actually emailed me your pain chart. So I pulled that up. Are you okay if I
post that in the show notes?
If I share that with people?
Yeah, if you want to post that in the show notes, that's great. No problem.
Okay, I will definitely do that. This is probably going to take us kind of back full circle, because you had talked about someone that's new to the sport, or maybe they're coming back to the sport after a significant time off, 2, 3, 10 years or whatever. What kind of advice would you give them? And I have a feeling it's going to come back to the load capacity equation that we just kind of framework that we just talked about. But to build up to avoid any potential injury.
So if you are just starting out with cycling, or you haven't cycled since the Clinton administration, we have a framework for how to build up that honors kind of that load versus capacity equation. And so we call it our building through consistency framework. Consistency is the most important part to building up. What we tend to do is start and stop, right? We will go for a few days, and then we're tired and sore, and we back off. And then we hit it again, and we back off. And we never really can build, because we're just kind of caught in this wave of stopping and starting. So instead, what we say is, let's build our body up, build that capacity by slowly applying that load. And so that framework has 3 different parts. We call it frequency, duration, and then intensity. And it has to be done in that order to really stay healthy and build up consistently. Because what we want is to build cycling up as a habit for you, where it's just part of your lifestyle, where you get out and ride. And that it's not a chore, it's not exercise per se, but it's just part of your lifestyle. We find that people that live the longest and live the healthiest are the ones that don't exercise necessarily. They just lead an active lifestyle where exercise and fitness is part of that lifestyle. And so the way we get there is through that frequency, duration, intensity framework. So start with frequency. It may be that you just hop on a bike, whether it's a recumbent bike or a bike trainer, or out on your bike outside. Just pedal for a few minutes a day, whatever you can do right now, and do it easily, comfortably, whatever. And just work on building a habit, and then start making that habit a little longer. So once you have the frequency down, then build that duration. And then the duration is more the lifestyle, where it's part of what I do and who I am, and that I love to do it. As I build up the duration and find ways that make it enjoyable instead of punishing. We tend to think of our workouts or doing cardio as some kind of punishment for bad eating or things like that. And so that's why I say start small and build up to where that duration then becomes a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And now I'm doing a 20-minute ride and then a 30-minute ride. And now it's long enough that it's starting to positively impact my health. I start feeling better. My joints move better. I can walk up a set of stairs without huffing and puffing so much. When it starts positively impacting our health, and we can grow that to where it's a meaningful amount of activity, now we can worry about more of the intensity. We often I finally have a free weekend. I'm going to go out there and hit it. And then we're sore, and we haven't built up the skills of how to stay in the saddle. We haven't, all those types of things, we haven't earned the right to really do well. And so then we wind up having accidents. We wind up getting too fatigued or too sore, or, some kind of injury that keep us from being consistent. And then we kind of sabotage the whole thing. So that's what I would say, is just start really small at first, whatever that is for you, wherever you are in that spectrum.
Right. Yeah. And you naturally want to improve and get better. I guess what I see with my mountain bike coaching, I see a lot of clients who do way too much comparison with themselves to other people. So they look at somebody else that's been that has built up that capacity, and they compare themselves to them, and that's damaging in so many ways. But specifically with our topic today with pain management, if they overdo it because I gotta keep up with my buddy, and they haven't earned the right to, like you said, through capacity to have that kind of load, then they're setting themselves up for disappointment.
We have to be careful when we group train, when we go out with friends, that we are careful to honor where we're really at and be okay with the fact that I might not be able to keep up with the group, or if you keep up with the group for this long, then I'm going to have to drop out or drop back and just go at my pace, because I'm a big believer in living to play another day. I would much rather not perform as well today, but still be able to perform tomorrow, than push through the discomfort today and then not be able to participate tomorrow. So there's always going to be some amount of discomfort that you have to push through in any physical endeavor, cycling especially, right? You feel the burn in those muscles and things like that. And that's okay to some degree, and we need to push ourselves in those ways at times, but you just have to make sure that it's measured and part of your plan, instead of like keeping up with the Jones type cycling, where it's, I went on a group ride with a bunch of friends and they were just higher level than me, so I tried to keep up, and then I blew up in some way. I see that way too often. Versus just having a real conversation with the guys that's like, hey, I'm going to keep up as best I can, but probably not going to be able to do that the whole time. So just either be patient with me, or like, I'll catch up eventually, type of a thing. But just having that real conversation with people allows for that flexibility, so you don't wind up picking out your next 8 weeks of riding because of one day where you could have, backed off a little bit and kept on going.
So when we talked offline, we came up with, 3, 4, 5 different sets of topics for a future episode. So I'm going to give you just a little chance, because one of the things that's really interesting to me is to talk about your 80-20 your 80-20 rule for cycling. And that's going to be a whole episode on its own, I believe. So can you just give us just a little teaser about what that ratio is?
So you may have heard of this. It's big in the running world. It comes in and out of vogue sometimes. Right now, zone 2 training is a big buzzword.
Right.
So essentially, 80-20 means 80% of the time in your zone 2, and then 20% of your time in zones 4 and 5, and almost no time in zone 3. I call zone 3 the no progress. And so we'll talk more about why that is, and how I learned about how to discover those zones for you, and how best to make sure you're in the right zones, and why that's so critical. But it's taught me how important that is, that 80-20 principle of training in the right zone, and the benefits to your health, reducing your risk of injury. So honoring that load to capacity, and being able to maximize your performance so that you really can slow down how fast you're slowing down, while maximizing performance and getting the most out of every ride. And so 80-20 is a really critical principle that it's one of the top 5 things that I wish people understood about their health and fitness.
Okay, great. Well, I'll look forward to doing that one. I'll have to recheck the list.
But that'll be a fun one. Talking all things zone 2 and 80-20, and how to apply that to your cycle. So zone 3 is what I call the no progress zone, and often the prime injury zone. So the zone 2 is the let's build endurance. Zones 4 and 5 are let's build performance. And when we get that balance right, which is that 80-20, that's where people really take off in their fitness. And we see that their zone 3 starts to shrink, and their zone 2 really grows into how much harder we can push and still be in zone 2 as we improve our fitness.
Cool. So you certainly gave us plenty of tools and lots of help to identify the pain, talk about building up the slowly building up the load to meet the capacity that we ultimately want to get through. When I think the big thing for me was when what tools that we can have to help us know when we actually need to go and seek out a professional if we start getting new or different pains. So it's been super helpful, and I appreciate you being on the show today.
If that pain starts to creep up, if it starts to become unpredictable and get higher and higher as you ride, definitely get in and see somebody as fast as possible. So ride right to the clinic.
Right. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, my pleasure. Look forward to being on with you again.
Well, that's another lap around the bike park for Aging on Dirt. I hope you've learned something and or found this entertaining. Most importantly, go out and apply what you've learned so you can experience more joy on your bike. Remember, Joel wants your input. What topics and or guests do you want to hear? Reach out to him where you're listening to the podcast, on Facebook, or find his email/phone on his coaching website, jzmtb.com. Until next time, have fun and be safe out there.